Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets here on the Mayo Media Network, presented by Prize Picks. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell. We're here to talk about the game of the season. That's right, Vegas hosting Colorado, Game 6 on Thursday night. So, DJ, how you doing? We're closing in on the end of round 2 now with the Islanders punching their ticket to the Final Four.
Yeah, the New York Saints did get the W. Where did that come from? Am I losing my mind?
It came from Cassidy.
Cassidy, but what did he say again? I know they're making fun of Cassidy, but what was it?
He claimed that the guys over there, they think they're all Saints or whatever.
Oh,
and
that was
because they didn't get called for penalties. Yeah, it was ready, that whole thing. And then Trotz was like, hey, they never got called for anything in the regular season either. And then they took a 5-on-3 almost immediately in that game. So very funny stuff. But
the New Orleans Saints tweeted about it. Did you see that tonight? Well, tonight recording this, they tweeted after the Islanders won, congratulations to the okay.
Wow.
That's right. I know they were making fun of Cassidy and I was like, what did he say? I never really watched the interview he got suspended for. So there we go. Learning live.
If I'm not mistaken, the two best moments of the playoffs so far in terms of, widespread pop culture appeal are Stephen A. Smith admitting he knows nothing about the league and a football team congratulating a different team who got complained by the other coach that they didn't get called for penalties. The NHL is a marketing wizard. Wonderful stuff.
I'm surprised they haven't tripped over themselves, fallen on their face, and missed these opportunities. But they will. If the Islanders don't sell New York Saints stuff tomorrow, they just missed it. If the NHL will probably be like, no, we can't do that.
If anyone thinks the NHL is rigged, Connor McDavid got knocked out in the first round again. Going to the Final Four are the New York Islanders and the Montreal Canadiens. This is not this is not the plan. This is not planned.
No.
So,
the NHL was literally we're gonna have McDavid and Matthews, and then hopefully Matthews moves on and they get the Habs, which isn't really the worst case scenario. Talk market size, the Habs are a fine play for them, better than Winnipeg, but it is watching the NHL do what the NHL things is just great. But we can get to the big game because this is the marquee event of the season. It really is. There hasn't been a bigger game. Many would argue that these are two of, if not the best, right up there in the top, 3-4 teams in the NHL playing against each other. Presumably the winner of this series has a very, very, very good chance of making it to the Cup final, and Vegas gets the chance at home to close it out. Don't want to go back to Colorado. They got the job done in Colorado. Everyone was saying, who's going to win the first one on the road. And it looked like Colorado was going to, take care of business at home, and Vegas bounces back in the third and Mark Stone in overtime. So is there anything you want to talk about from the last game first? But actually, I think there was something you wanted to tell me about before we got into that.
Let's hold off on the discussion of that game for just a second. We will talk about Prize Picks for just a second. They are the presenting sponsor of the show. So show us some support, show them some support. Head on over to prizepicks.com and use promo code MMN to sign up. For your efforts, you'll get up to $100 in a match deposit bonus. So, it's not like you're just doing something out of the goodness of your heart. You're making some money too. So what you do over on Prize Picks is you make mixed sport entries. You can't take them all from the NHL, unfortunately, because we only have one game at a time and all that. But you can take, a play from the NHL, sprinkle in some golfers in the PGA, maybe some MLB. We have an MLB Mayo Media Network show that you should be checking out. There's tennis. I know we've done some French Open tennis stuff, which has been really cool. I've gotten into the tennis DFS scene. So, definitely a lot of fun there. There's the Euros soccer going on. There are literally, you could make an entry of up to 5 selections, one from each sport, one from a different sport. It's crazy. It sounds like so much fun. So make sure you're heading over to Prize Picks using promo code MMN when you sign up. When you're looking at the hockey fantasy scores, just remember this. You get 3 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist, and a half point for a block, and a half point for a shot. The prevailing strategy is to take the guys that you think will take the most shots. Shots lead to goals, of course, but they also lead to assists. Especially in the playoffs, you take a shot on goal, you're usually trying to get through traffic. You're trying to bounce one off the goalie and have someone else bang it home. Like, shooters also get assists. So that is sort of the prevailing wisdom going into the prize picks and, in general. So let's cut it off right there. Go to prizepicks.com, use promo code MMN, and let's get into things. Yeah. So game 6. do you even have the lineup in front of you?
Yeah, I have everything. So we'll start it right off with what Colorado did. So if you play
the money line. The money line.
Oh, the money line. Yeah, I have that up as well. It is plus 115.
It's on the screen. It's on the screen.
Yeah, it's on the screen as well. I mean, I'm looking at 115 for Colorado and minus 135 for Vegas at home. So I think
which is crazy because
we're getting
Colorado was minus 150 at home.
Yeah,
but that's a huge swing. So kind of interesting.
Swing.
Anyway,
I think we should talk a little bit about last game and then get right into this one. So the last game, if you played the 2-game slate, which is where I was going with this conversation, and you got the Carolina news, you got Trocheck back and Nino is in, all that stuff, and you did what I did. I think, Matt, you did this as well and kind of put those guys in there because they were very cheap and they afforded you some of the top line guys in Colorado. Then Colorado took a 180 on us. So the lines that they ran were line 1, line 2, we'll say the line 1 was McKinnon, Rantanen, and Brandon Saad, who did score. We talked about him being on a heater, and he scored, I would argue, one of the worst goals a goalie has let in ever. Marc-Andre Fleury just swing and a miss with the glove as time almost expires in the first period. Line 2 was Landeskog centering JT Compher and Valery Nichushkin. They actually did very, very well as a line together. They did not score. They got scored against, but they actually controlled play pretty well. Line 3 was Yost. Logan O'Connor returned to the lineup, and Burakovsky. And line 4, who saw almost no minutes, produced the other goal for Colorado, with Donskoy scoring, being centered by Belmar and Newhook on the wing. Those guys saw about 8 minutes of ice time. So, sometimes it's not all about how much ice time, it's about how you use it. So Colorado definitely ran that top 6 to the ground. Vegas, on the other hand, a bit more spread out. They really rolled 3 lines, which were exactly what we expected, except Janmark came back in. But with all that being said, it was the Pietrangelo show. And, I don't think we should take everything from the last game and put it in a package and put it into this one, because it will be different. And we've seen the line changing based off who is home. So expecting the Stone line to see the McKinnon line again. So let's go with all that in mind. And we're looking at a showdown slate on DraftKings and some betting opportunities to key in on. So with all that being said, off the cuff, Matt, what changes are you expecting to see?
Yeah, it's really odd to me that in a home game, Nathan McKinnon managed only 19 minutes in a game that did go to overtime. And, the fact that he's also been so ineffective, Mark Stone's been great, but at home, he's been going up against Marchessault mostly. They've been getting him away from Mark Stone, and he's just not producing. So that's sort of the main problem, the main question that I have. Is he, he was hurt at the end of the season. Was he sort of just ready to go against an inferior St. Louis Blues team, but not 100%? And maybe he's still feeling something. So that's really the main question that I have. So for me, it just feels like Vegas does take care of business. It's real tough, especially because they were underdogs for the majority of the series. Now all of a sudden they're minus 135 at home. I don't know how much I want to swallow that pill, but I will tell you what, the over 5.5 sounds real enticing. I know, I know the last game didn't quite get there. It was 2-2 going into overtime. The expected goals weren't even off the charts either, but I got to say, the pace in that game regardless was still excellent. A lot of shots were blocked. I'm pretty sure every single one of the Vegas defensemen had at least 3 blocks. Just insane stuff. Maybe that happens again. But I kind of feel like, instead of getting blocked, maybe some of these shots ricochet, into the net. It doesn't really feel like the expected goals from that last game really sort of, captures the intensity and the pace and just the general, offensive nature of that game. So I really do like the over here, over 5.5. as far as actual personnel changes, I'm kind of expecting them to go back to Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen, and just sort of trying to, go best on best and just make do with what they have. I'm really hoping they, play Bowen Byram. We mentioned he was a possibility for game 5. He didn't play, but Nemeth is just got to get out of there. He only played 12 minutes. They know that he's not a viable option. And it's not the Vegas power play that's beating them. It's Vegas, at 5-on-5 that is just kicking their asses. So I kind of feel like they'll make a change in that nature. And also, Newhook should probably just be playing more. He had the play that set up the Donskoy goal. So I don't really know how much we can bet on that, though, per se. But that's just sort of what I'm expecting to see myself. Maybe Tyson Jost gets a bump down because he's just been not good all series long. But that's really the only thing I have because Nazem Kadri's still out. So Colorado's hurting. And I think Vegas takes care of business here.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tough for me to bet either side of this game because I really do think it's a complete toss-up. I like the over a lot more than anything else for all the reasons you mentioned. I do find it a little bit easier if you're playing on DraftKings to make a lineup. I think that it's just like you got to get some of those top Colorado guys in, and it's a little bit easier to talk myself into a bit of value on Vegas comparatively. I'm not sure exactly who I'd want to captain. I kind of want to talk myself into Rantanen just because he's a good bit cheaper than McKinnon, and I don't know if it's that big of a difference. But Vegas spread the minutes more. I think that they're matching up best on best, like you said, and they're going to control the matchups. So that Stone line is going to see a heavy dosing of McKinnon line, which might cannibalize itself a bit. But to what extent? Are you looking to, like we said, we kind of like the over here for the showdown slate. Are you looking to get a goalie in for sure, or are you considering not playing a goalie?
I'm considering not playing a goalie. And that I think to me is because I am kind of interested in getting the McKinnon Rantanen mini stack. If I had to pick one, I honestly think I would go Rantanen. So on the series, McKinnon has slightly more shot attempts. And more shots on goal as well. It's 20 to 15 in shots and 39 to 32 in terms of shot attempts. But Rantanen has more expected goals. He has more goals, and he just simply looks like he's shooting from more dangerous locations. Like the power play definitely does sort of suck over toward McKinnon. We saw Rantanen miss an absolute gift early on. I believe it was toward the end of the first where he was trying to do the Marchand where he put his skates together, he put his stick in between his feet and just tried to shovel a backdoor pass in. And it somehow just hopped up on him and hopped past his shin guards. He couldn't catch a break. We've seen Rantanen score in past games, but we also should have seen him score in game 5, honestly. So I think he gets right. And, with that in mind, it's like, am I really going to play McKinnon, Rantanen, and Grubauer and fade all of the good Vegas plays? Probably not. So that's really what I'm thinking. But I think that that information is useful to leverage in a different way, which is we're seeing Rantanen at plus 170 to score on DraftKings.
Yeah.
We never see that. So that's probably the most enticing goal prop. And if you could see him around, 3.5 shots, I think that's, a number I would take as well.
Yeah, no, I think that Vegas let's say Vegas. The books will say, because that's not good in this case. The books in this case, I think they're somehow being very persuaded by the recency bias of the last 3 games, which, I think 3 games in the playoffs is enough of a sample size to glean at least a decent bit from, but to just straight up take it as gospel, which it feels like they're taking it at this point because Vegas has been pretty dominant. You have to score on DraftKings, Pacioretty, Marchessault, then McKinnon, then Stone, who doesn't shoot much. He scored last game. He's been awesome. Then Rantanen, and Saad just a little bit off of Rantanen. And again, Saad's been on a heater. I'm not going to sit here and say it's insane, but it is kind of insane to think that Rantanen and Saad are this close. I don't buy that recency bias. And I think that even Landeskog, if he bumps back up to that top line at plus 235, come on, I think this is a spot where you should really be checking the lines at, depending on your time zone, to say 20 minutes before, check in, seeing, oh, top line, if Landeskog's back, jam a little bit of money on that. I mean, that's how you can create that edge all on your own. Is there any other prop that you're seeing that you wanted to touch on, or just a player in general that you think might be worthwhile? I mean, I know that we're not, either of us are fans of this guy, but Ryan Graves being the second least likely player to score. I mean, he was second in shot attempts in the last game. I don't think it's a great play. I mean, and like I know you talked to me about, like, I said that stat and you're like, well, 3 of those attempts came on the last shift of overtime. So, but that plus 1,300, or, I mean, freaking, I don't know.
No. Like, what do you know? What are you doing? It's Ryan Graves. The guy should be in the AHL.
All right. Well,
anyway, like,
I had fun with it.
Like, I get it. He's going to shoot a lot and whatever, but I don't really think he's a guy that I'm afraid of scoring. So I don't really feel the need.
Why he's dead last.
Yeah, no.
He's the same as Patrick Nemeth. And, like, I know Nemeth can shoot too, but, like, he's not going to play. So,
well, I mean, he might. I would say it's like 50-50 that he plays, because Connor Timmins could also come out. Like,
well, I mean, even if he, like, starts,
you don't really know. Anyway, right. You're accurate there. Yeah, so I think on the only thing we haven't really covered is on the Vegas side. You mentioned the line matching, and we sort of projected them to go best on best. Jonathan Marchessault had a hat trick in this exact same situation. Just 2 games ago now, at home, getting the weaker matchups. I think you got to consider Jonathan Marchessault. Like, he's been a very, very consistent shooter for them. Not just, I mean, obviously, the past couple games, but he's been pretty good all series long, all playoffs long, all season long. Like, he's just, he's not quite at the level that the line was when they made the march to the Stanley Cup in their inaugural season. But that's because they have an entirely new line that can carry the load. So I think Marchessault will show up here. I think that this is as good a spot as any. And I can almost guarantee, despite the strong recency bias that he presents, people will absolutely be sucked into playing Cale Makar, Alex Pietrangelo, even guys like Alec Martinez and Shea Theodore, who I would argue Martinez is a better play straight up than Marchessault. But I think Marchessault is certainly, might be second in that group for me, just in terms of guys who I think have, double-digit medians and still, 30-plus point upside, like he showed, 2 games ago.
I hate to do this to myself, but do you know what defensive pair saw the majority of minutes against that Marchessault line?
Is it the Ryan Graves pair?
Yeah, it's Graves and Girard. And they broke their doors in. I mean, oh my God. It's like, if you look on Hockey Viz at the matchup tool, blue would be Vegas, and it is like 82% blue, I'd say, maybe even like closer to 90. Like, just, boy, they just buried. I mean, they buried everyone it looks like they played against, but man, like, that was the D unit. And like when Makar and Taves were out there, that was like, Colorado has a chance, but they kind of needed to play a little bit more against that that Landeskog line. So, I mean, unless if Makar and Taves can play 30 minutes,
I mean,
it's going to be really tough. And they might do that. I mean, they might put those guys, like, I think that one angle that I was thinking about for the showdown is just getting Makar in, because I think he's going to play as many minutes as physically possible. Like, I might prioritize him.
My problem with Cale Makar is that he's not really that active, like on the DFS score sheet. Like, it's weird because you think a guy who is so involved offensively just piles up numbers, but he doesn't really do that. I mean, on the year, he only had about 2.5 shots per game. And, he doesn't even average a block shot per game. So, like, for me, Cale Makar's, unless you're doing a 5-1,
Colorado why he doesn't block a lot of shots?
I mean, you got me there. Like, he doesn't give up shots. Okay.
Yeah, like, they don't shoot when he's out there enough. Like, I mean, he's a big guy. Like, he'll block a shot. Like, I don't think he's afraid of it. But.
I mean, I guess if you think that Colorado sort of gets caved in, like, that could make sense. Because you're right. I mean, they were a 60% possession team.
I think it's I honestly think if you're taking showdown slates, it's worth a chance to do a 5v1 Colorado, just because like, Fleury could do what he did on that one shot against. I mean, I think if any goalie is susceptible to a meltdown, Fleury in this matchup could happen. And I'm okay betting on that. I personally, in like a showdown type of mentality, not like a gambling on the line mentality, just because you're going to get a really unique lineup. I think if you do a 5v1, and it could happen. Colorado one could catch lightning by just being that good and Fleury being that bad. Makar being on the ice as much as I think he should be, it could work. That's kind of the angle I'm taking here right now, and maybe having Marchessault coming back with it. But then again, if I do that, I kind of feel like I might need Grubauer, so it's gonna be really tough.
Yeah, I mean,
possible, but
I don't know if I'm coming out of this showdown slate with a lineup that doesn't have at least 3 Vegas Golden Knight defensemen. Between Pietrangelo, who's on an absolute heater, Alec Martinez, who's hit the blocks bonus, I think every game since the dawn of time, and is putting up power play. And if you listen to Tuesday, I gave this whole spiel there too, but he's playing on the top power play. He's in the shooting role on the top power play. Like if they score goals, he's going to put up points, in my opinion. Especially empty net situations too. If Colorado's down, like it'll be Martinez and Pietrangelo out there trying to protect the lead in the third. So there's those two. There's Shea Theodore, who is he's an awesome player. He's a great play. He's actually been their shutdown guy, tasked with stopping McKinnon. So, the minutes are safe with him. And then you have Braden McNabb and Nick Holden, both guys who seem to be playing, pretty decent minutes too. And they're very cheap in terms of showdown. Like Zach Whitecloud is 4,400, whereas McNabb is only 2,800 and Nick Holden's 2K. Like he's the bare minimum. So it just seems really straightforward to me that those are the guys that you want to put in first. And then you just fit in, whoever works around that. So that's how I'm playing the showdown slate. I mean, as far as the bets, did you have like one favorite bet you wanted to make? Because I think we're pretty much done breaking down this single game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you get Pietrangelo at 2.5, I think that's still pretty safe. It's not, the safest bet of all times, but if you have like 2.5 and it's pretty near even money, I think he's way more likely to hit it. I don't know. You're not going to find that on DraftKings. You might be able to find it over on FanDuel. It might not even be there, though. Like, I don't know if you're going to find it. That's the problem.
How insane is it that Pietrangelo has played 10 minutes on the power play in this series, has 3 shot attempts. He's played 97 minutes at 5-on-5, has 36 shot attempts. It every 3 minutes, he's firing a puck toward the net. That is insane.
That's insane. And that's what I'm saying. Like, and I think if you find that odd, it's not going to be priced accordingly.
Yeah.
Like,
you're right.
And I think that would be a really good one. But the one that you're going to find, I still think is Rantanen. Just because I think, like we're kind of saying, like they've been kind of bad lately. But this is a guy that was a lock at 2.5 all season long. His odds got super bad because of it. And now they're coming back to earth because of a couple bad games. Like it's Vegas, and I get that. And they have good shutdown guys. Colorado's back's against the wall. I think he's going to see 22 plus minutes of ice time, and he's going to be firing.
Yep. And last game he was plus 117 at over 3.5 on the road. He might even get higher than that. He might get plus 130. Right. And I do think that's a great bet to make. I also like him to score at plus 175. You can also shop that around. You might get a better line even than what you find on DraftKings. So I think Mikko Rantanen's my guy. I do want to go back to Max Pacioretty. I probably won't be able to quit him in showdown myself. But it's definitely for me, I think I'm prioritizing the defenseman here, especially because they sort of have, 3-4 lines that they all trust to defend the empty net. Like I'm sort of playing like the Islanders game on Wednesday where they were down 4-2. So they pulled the goalie, and what do you know? The Islanders scored twice on the empty net. Like that's going to happen if Colorado's losing, in my opinion. And it just makes sense to me to sort of target the guys who, there's only a 50% chance that one of your defensemen isn't on the ice, and there's like a 25% chance that your forward's on the ice. So it just makes sense to me to target these defensemen when they have such ridiculous floors, along with their upside due to points. So,
right, yeah,
all right.
Fair.
Anything else you want to say before we head off?
Nope. Just thanks to Prize Picks again for sponsoring us. They also, one thing you didn't mention, because I think that doesn't always come up. They do props as well. Single stats, if you will. Not props, that's the wrong word. They use single stats that you can include in your entries for your pick boards. Better way of putting it. So if you don't love one of the player totals, you can also do those. And like we're saying, we're like, oh, this is plus this, like they're just that's just a pick on the board. You say this shot and the board pick, and it's done. So if you really like one of them and you want to include it over there with some of your golf and etc., that would be just dandy.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Definitely a good avenue to explore as well as you're researching the slate. So yeah, I mean, the last thing I did want to say is, I obviously Chris, I don't think will be with you on Friday because there'll be no hockey. There might be a game on Saturday, so maybe he fires up the old machine and does a Saturday game. Should Vegas, should Vegas lose, I guess, and force the game seven. Otherwise, we don't know what the final four schedule looks like at this moment, but we're sort of projecting them to go every other day next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like just one game a night, and at least for next week that should work. So if that happens, we'll be right here for you. If there's something weird going on, like they need to play 2 games in one night, well, there might not be a show that day. So just keep an eye on what the schedule looks like. Obviously, if there's an NHL game that night, you should expect to see us or Chris on your feed of choice, be it YouTube or podcast apps or whatever.
Congratulate Chris Meany as well. He joined the board at FTN. That was pretty cool. Or the partner, I don't know.
Apparently he owns it now. I mean, he made so much money on his player props that he just now apparently he bought out the company. So props to Chris. Yeah.
So definitely, if you listen to this, well, give him a shout out. It was a big thing for him. I know he's really excited about it. He does such a great job over there, and we talk about Fade the Noise on here or there, but definitely he's doing amazing work. So check out Fade the Noise FTN. And you give him a shout out, a little tweet, a little congratulations. Other than that, though, yeah, I'm all set. Get on out of here. Enjoy the game of the year.
All right. Yeah. Certainly looking forward to it as well. So, from DJ and from me, good luck out there, everybody. And we'll talk soon. See ya.